folks, I hope you're all doing well. Today we will be looking at how to cite sources in your papers. Citation is a big topic, so today we will focus on the basics of citation, including citation overview, intro to plagiarism, in-text and end-of-text citations, and citation politics. Today I will be using MLA 8 and APA 7 citation formats to give you examples of citations. If you want to listen to specific sections of this video, feel free to use the timestamps in the video description below. I will also include a list of sources to visit for more citation information in the description. A citation is a piece of information taken from a source that was written or created by someone else. You can place that information into your own work to make it more credible. So, why does citing other people's work make your own more credible? Well, it shows that you have researched your topic and read other sources to gain more contextual knowledge of the field. This helps your ethos as the researcher, as it showcases that you have knowledge of the topic at hand. Choosing specific citations to bolster your writing also helps readers see what types of sources you're pulling information from, which further helps to strengthen your ethos as a writer and researcher. In some classes, you'll be given a minimum amount of sources for a piece of work. This highlights your instructor's expectations regarding how many sources are necessary to read in order to gain a certain level of contextual knowledge about a given topic. Likewise, you will sometimes be asked to focus on specific types of sources. Different types of sources will give you different information about a field or topic. So it's important to think about both the pieces of information you are pulling into your work and also where they come from. I have named citation as a piece of information pulled from a text and planted into your own. This is correct to a point. A citation requires a few steps to be taken in order to be done correctly. If you pull information into a text without citing it correctly, then you have committed plagiarism. This is something to be avoided at all costs, as different institutions have severe penalties for work that is plagiarized. The main reason behind this is that work incorrectly cited is seen as a theft of sorts. In other words, you are passing off someone else's work as your own. Plagiarizing other people's work undermines all of your own work efforts, as your entire work will be called into question. Each citation needs 3 pieces of key information: the information pulled from another source, an in-text reference, and an end-of-text reference. Together, these 3 pieces of information make a full citation. The way you format the references depends on the citation format you are using. As I said before, I will be using MLA and APA citation formats as examples in this video. Each citation format has an edition number that dictates how you should cite your work. For example, MLA 8 references the MLA citation format 8th edition. It is important to pick one citation method and one edition to use throughout your paper. If you are told to use MLA formatting, you cannot use a mix of 7th and 8th edition together. You must pick one. Therefore, all your references will be following the same format. In order to avoid plagiarism, we will be looking at how to correctly cite information in your own work. To do this, I will use MLA 8 and APA 7 citation format examples. In-text citations are references to another source that are placed in the body of your essay. This helps readers attribute that piece of information to a specific source outside your own work. In-text citations are shortened, so they don't disrupt the flow of your essay too much. Here you can see an MLA 8 and an APA 7 in-text citation for the same source. Notice that the formats differ slightly. MLA 8 asks you to include the source author's last name and the page number you pulled the information from. For example, if you are pulling information from page 14 of John Doe's book, your in-text citation would read, open parenthetical, Doe 14, close parenthetical. MLA 8 asks that you place an in-text reference at the end of the sentence, including the pulled information. Remember not to place a comma between the last name and page number. APA 7 asks that you include the source author's last name, the year the source was published, and the page and/or paragraph number you pulled the information from. For example, if you're pulling information from page 14 of John Doe's book that was published in 1987, your in-text citation would read, open parenthetical, Doe, 1987, p. period 14, close parenthetical. Notice that APA 7 asks you to place commas between the information in the in-text reference and also asks that you include p. period before the page number. Another difference between MLA 8 and APA 7 is that the in-text reference appears right after the information pulled from a source in APA 7, not necessarily at the end of the sentence. In both formats, you only need to include the author's name once in the sentence. This changes the way you format the in-text references depending on how you write. For example, if you mention an author's name in a sentence, you don't repeat it in the in-text reference, which is marked by the parentheses on either side of the information. If you choose to mention the author's name in a sentence using MLA 8, you should only include the page number in the end of sentence in-text reference. If you choose to mention the author's name in a sentence using APA 7, you create two separate in-text references in parentheses. The first will include the publication date of the source, and this will appear directly after the author's name. The second will include the page or paragraph number, and this should appear directly after the pulled information. The main difference between these two in-text reference formats is that you can cite multiple sources in a single sentence using APA 7, but you shouldn't do that using MLA 8. The main takeaway from this section is that you must include the author's last name for both MLA 8 and APA 7 in-text references. You also have to include page numbers for MLA 8, and either page numbers or paragraph numbers for APA 7. Finally, APA 7 also asks that you include the publication date for the source you pulled from. So, we have looked at a brief overview of in-text references, but they must be accompanied by end-of-text references to be complete. End-of-text references include all the information for a given source. The in-text reference help readers attribute information to different sources, and the end-of-text references then help readers locate that source. For every different source cited in a paper, you must have both an in-text and end-of-text reference. Including one without the other is technically plagiarism. For both MLA 8 and APA 7, end-of-text references appear on a separate page after the end of your essay. For MLA 8, this page should be titled Work Cited, and for APA 7, this page should be called References. While in-text references follow a basic format, end-of-text references are formatted slightly differently depending on the type of source you pulled information from. For example, an MLA 8 book reference would look different from an MLA 8 web page reference. In this video, we will run through some of the most common source types and how to cite them in both MLA 8 and APA 7 end-of-text references. This list includes books, websites, journal articles, and online images. We will now run through the 4 types of common references with MLA 8 and APA 7 formatting. I have included a description of what information needs to be included, along with an example of what that may look like. As we take note of each type of source, please be sure to take note of the punctuation, capitalization, and the use of italics for different pieces of information. It is important that we include information in the right order, while also adhering to a citation format's specific style. Feel free to pause on any of these images if you need to find specific information on how to cite these sources correctly. Citation politics refers to the politics of who you're citing and how you're citing them. A lot of people think the best sources to use are ones that could be deemed incredibly factual. This isn't incorrect as such, but there are other factors to consider when choosing who to cite in your work. For example, you might want to write a paper on local drinking laws in your neighborhood. A recent academic publication by a well-known economist tackles drinking laws around the globe. This economist has a PhD and over 30 years' experience in the field. At the same time, a local beer buff has written a blog post about all the pubs in your area and how they deal with drinking laws locally. The critic is known to live in their parents' basement, using their small amount of money to buy beer. So, who's the better person to cite in your paper? This is somewhat of a trick question, as you can decide which source works best for you. However, you should take into consideration the pros and cons of each writer and their source. For example, the famous economist would certainly be a flashier name in your paper, and their work is drawing from laws across the globe. However, they don't know your local area very well, and it might be hard to map their work onto the lived experiences you know. In contrast, the local beer critic knows your area very well and has taken the time to interview local pub landlords. This makes their work both credible and personal. However, their name might not be as big a deal, and some readers may argue that their writing isn't academic. Neither of these sources is better or worse, but they each contribute different perspectives on a topic. It is up to you to decide what you want to include in your paper. Some common examples of citation politics include papers that discuss discrimination issues, while only citing the work of white men. Similarly, some feminist papers only cite the work of white women. The key takeaway with citation politics is that when we choose who we are citing, we are showcasing a judgment system to our readers. When writing your papers, be sure to pick sources that work for your papers and also showcase the kind of information you want to privilege in your own writing. On a less scripted note, I apologise for the audio quality today. I've been a bit under the weather and you can probably tell the difference in my voice. Nonetheless, I hope this introductory video has helped you with both citation, plagiarism, and citation politics. I hope you're all having a wonderful day, and I will see you all soon.